Right, we're starting out bright and early this morning with a 2012 F250 or F350, 6.7 liter. Pressure states that the truck runs dynamic power and checking lights on. Set up here. ID the vehicle. Does not have factory navigation. Now you're seeing this for the first time as I'm seeing it. I haven't pre-looked at this vehicle. I just rolled in the door and I grabbed the camera and the scan tool, and I didn't go drive it to verify it. It's checking the lights on, so we'll just we'll check for codes, see what those say, and go from there. That's gonna be a hot one today. I may have to turn every fan on this shop, and you probably will sound like you're in a wind tunnel. Alright, vehicle's ID'd. Toolbox. Self-test. Powertrain. We'll do engine and key on, engine off. Alright, let's see here. So we got a P0402 EGR excessive flow. P04DA EGR control at limit. P2073 MAF correlation. P2074 20B9 reductant heater A. 20BA reductant heater A. We set freeze frame for our reductant heater. This code's set on a hot engine, 177 degrees. Not really much to look at. Alright, first things first, let's look at our reductant heater issue. So let's go to data logger. Powertrain, SCR system. We're going to get the two heaters that are available to us. The line heater and the tank heater. We'll also get ambient temperature and the tank temperature. So this is where I want to change the data from numbers to graphs. Actually, I'm going to change to a bar. So we'll get our heater current, pick our finger, change it to a bar, and we'll get our tank current. Change it to a bar, and then we'll try to take control of the heaters. So, and I don't have a problem with the line heater, so I'm going to try it first. Did this backwards. turn the currents into your bars. And turn the controls back to numerical values. Alright, now we'll turn the line heater on. And we'll watch the current and see what it goes up to. Alright, it didn't even try to turn on, so let's go to our tank, turn it on. So it's too warm for them to turn on. However, at least the line heater tried to turn on. The tank heater, it didn't even budge. So just like in my previous video, I'm just gonna get the truck up in the air and check the resistance of the heater, and it should be 1 to 2.5 ohms. I suspect it'll be really high. Anything above 2.5 ohms is no good. So let's try the line current one more time. It actually turned on and stayed on this time, but it'll time out. So we know that heater's good. So that takes care of those two, for the most part, until we do a little more checking. Now let's go back to this guy. So with EGR, MAF, and when you get this code along with EGR codes, you usually can pretty much bet the EGR is what's causing it. And 2 maps. So let's go back to the data logger. Let's check the engine. Let's get some EGR stuff here. So EGR valve position, actual, command, evaluation, EGR 11. What am I looking for here? Let's see. Let's get our EGR throttle plate and our map. It's air pressure. Let's get map actual, mass airflow actual, and we need RPM. We're going to control the RPM, so we get RPM desired. And we also get our cooler bypass. If I can find it. There's our bypass. So let's see what we're looking at here. Alright, so we're back to 1200. Turbo's locked where it can't move. Bring our EGR down. So I've got everything locked at 0%. My mass airflow is still fluctuating. we're going to close the EGR throttle plate and see if our map sensor goes down. We're running 15.78 psi. Alright, now we're sending the engine into a vacuum. We'll actually drop to 12 psi. We're down to 7 psi. And if I take it off high, it'll stall the motor. So we're responding well to that. The map sensor is actually working. It's not clogged up with crap. It may be clogged up a little bit, but it can read. So now let's control the EGR valve and see what our mass airflow does. So we dropped from around 70 grams a second all the way down to 20 grams a second on our mass airflow when we sent our EGR valve full wide open. Blow it up so you can see it a little better. So now I'm going to do it again. And you see this graph just drop right off here. And it'll come back up. Alright, now when I open our EGR valve, the temperature jumps about 30 degrees or so. So now let's close off the bypass valve. Re-exercise our EGR valve. Now our temperature is 174 degrees on our EGR temperature sensor. With our bypass valve disabled to where the flow must go through the cooler, we dropped about 30 degrees. The bypass valve enabled to where no flow goes through the cooler, we actually gained about 50 degrees. So that's working. So now let's run a key on engine running test since we're warmed up and see what that shows. Get everything back to zero here. May take a few minutes. I like Fords because you can do a key on engine running test. It allows you to do things that normally you'd have to drive down the road. So this thing will actually exercise the throttle plate, the EGR valve. Just dynamic things that you can't do without the engine running. It's a really good test for a post-test drive. Prepare the vehicle, it's good to go. Bring it back to make sure you don't have any codes or leaks or anything like that. The key on the engine running test will catch things that you might have cropped up on a longer test drive. Let's say you do a real short test drive. The key on the engine running test will help keep you out of hot water with your customer. Now you can hear the fan come on, so we're checking the fan. Bit of a noisy engine, a little bit of a click to it. So that code's nothing to worry about. I just didn't hit the cruise control switches in the right sequence. But we got a 1408. EGR flow out of cell test range. So we definitely got something going on there. So let me do a little research on this and I'll get back to you. Take a look at the mass airflow sensor. I've changed it to a histogram. I mean, it's just all over the place. That's a major input for our EGR. So we're going to crank this thing back up and get all the air control items at 0. Turbo wastegate, VGT solenoid. We're just going to make sure they're all at 0. So let's do that. Take the turbo wastegate, center to 0. We're going to lock the VGT at 60. And 58. Lock the center EGR down to 0. And we're going to crank up the RPM. 1500. Take a look at that map sensor. I mean, it's just 1 minute to 110 grams per second. And it's all the way down to 70. Our exhaust back pressure is steady at 43. We dipped auto blade down to 40 grams per second just then. So this mass airflow sensor is all over the place. And I looked at the history on this truck. This truck's had a turbo put in it. So we can suspect these air filters on these things are terrible. I mean, you got to really run a really good air filter. I suggest a Motorcraft. But I mean, you run a cheap, just downtown parts filter in it, and they'll get a little wet. They'll distort, bend, warp, and then all of a sudden you're bringing in a lot of dirty air. And your mass airflow sensor is the I like to call it the secondary air filter. So we'll pop that mass airflow out and have a look at it. Have a look at the air filter, and I suspect that is the majority of our EGR issues, because everything else looks okay, and it's had a EGR cooler replaced recently, and it's working. So this could be an easy one. This looks like an aftermarket mass airflow. It does. Oh yeah, look at that. Just like I anticipated. It's just a crappy air filter. I mean, look at this thing. I mean, this is what you get when you use inferior filters. I mean, this. It gets a little water on it, driven it in the rain, and it's just garbage. I mean, so look at all the dirt that's gone into here. And it's just completely full of dirt. And it's a Ford mass airflow, but it's definitely trash. It's had a lot of dirt go through it, including the turbo. So that air filter has allowed just a ton of dirt to go through this system here. Let's see if I can get you closer. Take a look at that. And it's just that's incredibly it's just bad. And this is where the air filter, that's the air coming into the filter. I mean, so that's the stuff they've been bringing in. That's air, that's supposed to be filtered air, all in there. Shot of the filter. So we're going to have to put a mass airflow sensor in it, new air filters obviously, and just going to have to let it ride. I've got to roll with it. This is a service truck. I need it. Damage is done. Whatever damage is done to the turbo is done. It's not going to get any better. We put a new air filter in it, keep it from going any worse though. So I'll have to order up a mass airflow sensor and check back with the results when we get it. Alright, so the mass airflow sensor came in. This is the part number. And there's a core on it. So you gotta make sure you give it back. This is the part. Pretty easy to change. Just has 2 screws. These are filters. It's just a little foam filter. I rarely ever replace these, but this is pretty nasty, so we're going to put one in it. And this is the main air filter. So this is the Motorcraft recommended. I don't know why you'd want to chance on this. I mean, the turbo for this truck is $2,000 bucks. What gets it to do if you save $10 on an air filter? Pretty bad math. Alright, so I'm gonna clean all these hoses and snorkels and filter box and all that. I'm just gonna wash them out, let them dry out when I go to launch. But first I'm going to take the mass airflow sensor out. So that's it. Just got these 2 screws. Here's the foamy. She was due. Most of them don't get this bad, but it's pretty rancid. All right, so we washed this out. Had it baking in our little easy bake oven at 1,000 degrees, sitting out in the sunshine. We wiped it out with a little brake clean. So we just put it all back together. You can do these in chassis. You don't have to take this out, take this all apart. It just sits in there like that. So you just stuff it in to where this line goes inside there. But since we got it out, it'll make it a little easier. So it just sits right in there like that. Easy peasy. That's ready to go back in. Now we put our mass airflow sensor in. It's got a gasket on it. Make sure the old gasket's not in there. Put it in the right way. It's only going one way.
47, 701, 47, 701.
just the Torch 20 bolt. I'll have to kill them. Put our old sensor in the box so we don't get charged for a core. And now let's put the truck back together. So I'm going to put these back in. I just use some spray foamy window cleaner. Spray these little nipples here. Makes them easier to go in. Alright, let's recheck our data. Alright, so we're back in front of the computer. And we got to re-ID the vehicle. So we've worked on other vehicles since then. Back to our saved session. And I think there's a parameter reset for mass airflow replacement, so let's go and check that. Go to toolbox, and then go down to powertrain, service functions, and reset function. Reset clear functions. Yeah, so right here, got a mass airflow sensor, so we're going to reset the data on that. Just follow the directions on the screen. We're going to pull our codes and clear them. So get all these codes cleared, nothing comes back, and alright, so everything's clear, everything's good to go. I'm gonna go drive it and see if we make some boost, 25, at least 25 psi. Some of these old ones, they only make like 22, but some of them make up to 30. It's different for every truck, so we'll see if we can get about 25 hopefully, and everything sounds good and looks good. No codes come back, we'll send this thing back to the customer. Alright, so we just came back off the highway. I did a key on engine running test and everything passes, and she made plenty of boost, about 22 pounds, which is more than fine for this thing. So just to go back and revisit our data we were looking at with that mass airflow out of whack, just to give you an idea of the difference before and after, if you will. So I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to get a minimum of stuff though. I'm just going to get mass airflow and EGR valve. That'll show up. So let's just get these two items. I better get RPM too. Alright, so you can see how steady this mass airflow is now. We're running about 15 grams per second. Let's run our RPM up. Let's take it right up to 1500. Alright, now we're ramping up to 46, 47 grams per second. I'm going to take the EGR valve and just turn it full bore. Actually, we're going to run it down to nothing. So we'll run that down to 0. And our mass airflow has gone up to between 80 and 90. And she's steady Eddie. And we'll take our EGR and send it right up to, well, it's like 88%, that's all you can do. And you can see we've dropped back down to 40. You can see our line here, dipping down, raising up. So everything's working correctly, and we've got a nice steady, even graph. So we got lucky on this one. I mean, we just had a crappy air filter, and that was causing the majority of our issue. That and our def sending unit or def heater. And I can show you that real quick. Let's go back to our list. And I'm just going to get the tank heater and tank heater current. I'll change the current to a bar, because it should click on and off very quickly, because it's hot out. So let's turn this on. Yeah, so we're over 6,000 milliamps, and then we're back off. So before it wouldn't do anything at all. I mean, it was dead. Alright, so that's that. Gonna turn this back over to the customer and move on to the next vehicle.